Welcome back to 1834 Restoration House. We're back at the house for the weekend and we're going to see if we can get some more work done. So last week we washed the walls in this room and came back later and rinsed the TSP off them. So they're good and clean now. There's no more mildew or mold. So today we're going to select a color and then we'll go down to the hardware store and get some of it. And we have a couple of other surprises in store too. Do you have a color chip?
Yes, I do.
There it is. Okay, so this is kind of what we had picked out. We looked at a couple of historic colors. At first we looked to see if we could match this. And even though it's a robin's egg blue, it actually turns out to be somewhat towards the green spectrum, which really surprised both of us. We couldn't believe our eyes, but we thought about it and we decided, well, we could color it anything we want to because it's only temporary. We went down to the Benjamin Moore store and got some samples. This is called Marlboro Blue. It's a little bit deeper, but it's definitely more in the blue spectrum than the walls are. So this will bring everything back towards blue, and it is a little bit darker, so we'll be okay with that, I think.
Yeah. Outside the front door, we have a little mailbox on the side of the house. Now, the postman requested that we actually put one in by the street, and it just doesn't seem right to put a modern day mailbox in. So we looked around and this is what we found. It's more Victorian style. It's metal and it's got different patterns on it. And I love it. It's so pretty. This seems like a pretty safe neighborhood, so I don't think anybody's going to come along and bash it. I'm hoping not, because this was my little splurge.
Also in today's video, we're going to install our internet router and Wi-Fi. We have the Spectrum Advanced In-Home Wi-Fi 6. I guess that's the latest, greatest technology. But it does have a sticker on here that says used by 8/13/21. So maybe we should put it in the refrigerator. Anyway, here's the cable that we'll connect to. And this will serve as the Wi-Fi access point. The modern mailbox is usually mounted to a wooden post, which is set in the ground and sometimes reinforced with concrete. But this Victorian mailbox actually has a cast base here, and it has 4 bolt holes. So what we need to do is one of two possibilities. One is we can dig out, we can pour a concrete base and then set some threaded rod into it, and then slide this down over it and bolt it in place. Or the alternative is, if there's a piece of concrete that's already suitable, we can dig down in there, drop that piece in there, and then we can drill in and put the threaded rod in with epoxy. So those are the two possibilities. First thing I want to do now is get an idea of how big to make this concrete. So we're just about a foot there, and we're about 8.5 inches there. So we're going to get us a concrete base that's actually larger than this. Before we go down to the paint store, we need to figure out how much paint we need. And I'm going to show you a quick and easy way of finding that out. So the first thing we need to do is figure out how high this wall is minus the trims. I have 116 inches. Now measure the length of the wall. Well, I have 169 inches. Now let's measure the door. We have 39.5 inches. And we have 79 inches. This is where the math lesson comes in. I hope you paid attention in high school. So we have this distance in inches, and we have this distance in inches. So I'm going to take the 169 times 116 and see what we get. So 169 times 116 is 19,604 square inches. Now, take that number and divide it by 144 to give you square feet. That gives us 136 square feet. Now do the same with the door. So the door is 39 inches times 79 inches gives us 3,081 square inches. We'll divide by 144 to give us 21.3. I'm just going to round it to 21. So 21 square feet. Now, here's where the good part comes in. So you take the 136 square feet of the entire wall, and then you subtract the 21 square feet of the door, and that tells you how many square feet of paint you need for that wall. So 136 minus 21 gives you a grand total of 115 square feet for that wall. Now you can repeat that process for every single wall. You notice this room everything's different. So we have to do this individually to find out what it is. So we'll take this times this, we'll subtract that area from that. Over here, we'll do the same thing with the windows. We'll do the same for the door and that door, and then we have another wall of an odd length. So we have a little bit of work to do, but I think you get the gist of it. So we'll come back in a minute and tell you what we found. Just to recap real quick, we measured the square footage of the entire wall, and then we measured the square footage of the obstacle. We then subtracted the square footage of the obstacle from the square footage of the entire wall. We did that for every single wall in this room. Now what we're going to do is take all of these numbers, we'll add them together and find out what the total square footage is of these walls. The grand total for this room is 475 square feet. Now, I've never yet seen a paint that will cover it in one coat, so we need to double that. So we'll take the 475 times 2, 950 square feet. That's how much paint we need to paint this entire room. We just got back from a parts run. We went to the lumber yard and we bought a sack of concrete and a few anchors, and then we went to the paint store and picked up some paint for the bedroom. Now, if you have a list of projects to do, I like to do the ones that are hardest first because they're going to take the longest time, and I like to make sure that it gets done. If the other ones don't get done, fine, but we'll come back to them later. But let's do the hardest one first, which is pouring the concrete pad. First thing we want to do is measure out 14 inches. And then I'm going to go ahead and mark that. The other dimension is 10 inches. The next thing we need to do is excavate that down and make a nice square hole that's about 4 inches deep. All right, we have a nice hole there. First thing I'm going to do now is I just want to get the soil wet. I don't want to saturate it, I just want to get it wet so that it doesn't soak up all the concrete. Now, we'll open this up. I'm just going to go ahead and pour the concrete right in the hole. And now we'll add water to it and start working it in place. A little more over here. Just, that's good. Not so much for the glove. We're going to let that set up now that it's nice and level, and we'll come back after it's set up. Okay, everybody, we have 2 gallons of Benjamin Moore Marlboro Blue, right? Did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we have our tray, we have our cup, we have our cut-in brush, the roller, and theoretically we have enough paint according to our calculations and what the can says as far as coverage goes. I don't know if you can see the floor, but we have a drop cloth down here as well because we don't want to get any paint splatters on this beautiful floor. So, let's get to it, love.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'll let you get over there.
Right away, you'll notice that it's more blue than the original paint. Everybody thinks the old paint was a robin's egg blue, and that is generally true until you put a blue up against it, and you can really see just how much green was in that.
Get as close to the corner as you can.
Okay.
That way it has the same texture.
Okay. Kind of like that.
Yeah. Just rub it right up against there.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Because the brush leaves a different texture than the roller does.
It certainly does. What do you think of that color?
I think it'll be nice and comforting when we're tired at the end of the day. It'll be soothing and relaxing.
I think so too. Now, that's a color out of the historical catalog. So these are all verified colors that would have been around back in the 19th century and 18th century. I think it's very nice, actually.
Do you like it?
I do.
Good.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe it would be too grayish, but no, it doesn't look gray at all to me. It's very blue.
Good. I'm glad you like it.
We're going to paint a little bit and then we'll come back. So we got the first coat on this one wall here, and you can really see how much bluer it is than the rest of it. Here's the old paint here, and here's our new paint. So what do you think of that?
I like it. Part of it's drying over here, and you can see it's a little lighter.
It is. Let me swing the camera so you can see it better.
I like it. It's very comforting, I think.
Very comforting.
Yeah. Very mellow and relaxing.
It is. And it's fresher too. I mean, we did clean the other paint. It is a lot cleaner than it was, but it still has that age to it where it's kind of dirty and you really can't get that out and make it perfect. So this really refreshes it. Now, I know some of you are going to ask why we're painting the room instead of wallpapering. And we did cover this in an earlier video. What happened was there was probably some cracked plaster under here, and the previous owner, she was getting up in years and didn't really want to spend a lot of money on the place, probably couldn't spend a lot of money on it. So what they did is they covered this up with a thin veneer drywall and then taped it, mudded it, and then painted over it. So what we're painting here is drywall. This is the only room in the house that we know of that has drywall over plaster. So I have no problem painting it. We'll go back later and we'll take this drywall off and go back to real plaster at some point and then do a proper restoration here where we strip the paint off the woodwork and probably recoat the plaster, and maybe if it looks good enough, we'll put some wallpaper up.
I love that idea.
I love that idea. Okay.
Yes, sounds great.
Great. But for now, we're painting, and this will be our bedroom. We're making really good progress on the paintwork in the bedroom. We're about halfway done right now, and Jeannie is working on cutting in around the window frames. So what we like to do is we'll roll the walls first, getting as close to the frames as we possibly can, and then we'll cut the last little bit in with a brush, and that usually works pretty well. We find that typically it takes 2 coats of paint to do a good job. Right now it looks pretty good, but there's just that little bit of unevenness if you look really carefully. And after a while, you start to notice it more, and you think, gosh, I wish I would have done the second coat.
Yeah.
So we always do 2 coats. But the thing is, by the time we get around the room, the first coat will be completely dry, and we can start on the second coat.
I took the cover off the light switch so I could paint around it. Look at how much cleaner it is underneath compared to the wall, which has been exposed the whole time.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's now the next day, and the concrete pad that we poured yesterday is now cured, hard as a rock. Now, I've got to admit, I do have a lot of skills, but concrete is not one of them. I can pour it, I can try to float it, but I've never been very good at making concrete look right. So any flat work we do on this property will be done by professionals. I'll just get that out of the way right now. So, but this one we did, it doesn't matter because it's going to be covered up by a mailbox. So this is the mailbox base, and it'll sit right here. What we have to do is bore some holes, and we're going to use these concrete anchors here. So the first thing I want to do is put the anchor through the hole like that, and then measure and see how far past the base it protrudes. In this case, it's 2.5 inches. So I'm going to drill my holes at 2.5. And to do that, I have my trusty Bosch Bulldog Extreme hammer drill. Now this is the same thing we used back at 1834 up in New York where we did the basement work. It makes a really good tool for knocking out old mortar, especially the kind that had the Portland cement in it that was super hard. All right, so before we get started, I'm going to set the stop at 2.5, and I'll just eyeball it. Okay, that's about 2.5 inches right there. Now, what I'm going to do is go right down the hole. I'll use this base as a drill guide, and I'll start the holes like that, and then I'll do the rest. I'm taking off the hardware now. So we'll leave those anchors in the ground for now. We'll take this off and we'll build the rest of the mailbox. We ordered this thing from Wayfair, and I don't know where this thing was built, but it had animal hair all over the thing, inside and out. Some third world country maybe, I don't know where it came from, but anyway, everything's laid out now. We have the directions, and let's see if we can put this thing together. So they say to take this and put the base on it, and then put in 2 studs along with washers and screws. Actually, it looks like the studs go in here first, so we'll screw these in like so. Okay, base goes on here. 2 washers and 2 nuts. Look, it even comes with a tool. Put base on the mounts. Okay, now it says to take this and open it up. Yuck. There's animal hair all inside this thing. Wayfair, if you're watching this, you need to take a closer look at your suppliers. The cap piece goes here. And you can't really see it, but the washer goes in there. And finally, the nuts. Next is to bolt the box onto the base, making sure that the door is facing the house. And then finally, the last thing to do is cinch it down to the anchors. Now, these are called compression anchors. So what you do is you drill a hole in the concrete, you put the anchor in there, and then when you tighten it up, it actually crushes it and forces it to expand, and that grips the concrete really hard. Now, that's the theory. We'll see if it works in practice, of course. This is the Wayfair mailbox. Having worked with it, I'm not terribly impressed with it. The fact that it was full of animal hair coming right out of the box. And it just seems really flimsy to me. I don't think it would hold up to much stress. So, it is what it is. All right, that's done. Now there's only one thing left to do.
What's that?
We need to remove the old mailbox.
Ah, yes. Here it is. What do we do with it?
I don't know. Maybe we could do a 1834 old mailbox giveaway.
What do y'all think of that? Time to check the traps. It has been 2 weeks. Now last week we checked them 3 times. So this week, let's check them again. Hey, they're not flipped. Very nice. Look at that. No mouse turds and no mice. I don't think we have a mouse problem after all. Yes! That is so wonderful.
I'd like to take a moment to welcome all of the new viewers and all of the new subscribers who've joined 1834 Restoration House. The channel's been growing quite a lot since we bought this place, just a few weeks ago actually. And I want you to know that we appreciate you guys a lot, and we're glad you're here with us. Now, the next thing we need to do is put the wireless internet system in here. It says for emergency, dial 911. Wow. So what do we have here? This is the cable modem. You can tell because it has an RF connector on the back. And this box over here contains the wireless router. That would be this. Wow, look at that fancy thing. It's all kind of rounded and wow. That's pretty cool. It's not your typical router. And it comes with a power supply, of course. And a network cable. This one here also comes with a network cable. The first thing we want to do is plug the power supplies into the cable modem and the wireless router. We'll plug those into the wall. It was really nice of them to set these up so that they can plug in sideways like that. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to use the same outlet. This is the cable connector. That goes on the back here. And it takes a little finagling to get the screw threads to engage. And you don't want to cross thread them. But once you get it, just put it down finger tight. That's all you need. Now that they're plugged in and connected to the network, I have to call an 800 number and have them activate it.
Something else.
Activate now.
Okay, one moment while I pull up your information. Have you already connected your new internet modem according to the instructions in your self-install kit?
Yes.
Great, one moment while I send the activation signal. Okay, I sent you the activation signal. In most cases, your equipment will activate within 10 minutes. You can refresh your internet browser to confirm your connection. If the delay is longer than 10 minutes, turn the equipment off and back on to restart the connection.
Well, I guess that's it. It's all automatic these days, so hopefully in a few minutes this thing will stop flashing and go solid, and we'll see what happens. Alrighty, now we'll take the cable and we'll connect across from the network port on the modem. The modem then connects to the network port on the router. And that's all for the physical connections. Let's go see what Jeannie is up to. There she is, up on the ladder.
Oh, hello. Yep, I am painting the top of the wall all the way around. We didn't get to it yesterday because we didn't have the ladder yet. Now we got the ladder, we can finish up this room.
I'm just pulling back here a little bit so we can see what it looks like.
Okay.
Look at that beautiful blue paint. It's a little bit different shade than the robin's egg that we did yesterday, but I think it turned out really nice. And this is part of the historic collection.
I like it. We came in this morning and it just felt really good.
Hey guys, this is really exciting. Back at 1834, our old house up in New York, the ceilings were 9 feet high. Well, guess what? I just measured the ceilings here. These are 11-foot high ceilings. That is awesome. Meanwhile, back at the Internet project, It wasn't working back there on the porch, and I think it's probably a bad cable. It looked kind of old and ratty. So I took all of the equipment, I brought it forward into the main parlor here, the grand parlor, if you will, and plugged it back in. And right away, within a couple of minutes, I got 3 blue lights right there. So that looks like it's working perfectly.
All right, second coat is done. We are done painting the blue.
Wow, look at that.
Does it look good?
Oh, it's incredible. It's a richer shade of blue than what we had before.
It is, but I think it feels more comfortable.
It does.
And not so much energy. I don't want too much energy because this is our bedroom. So you come in at night after being busy, and I just want to relax,
Yes.
mellow.
Relaxation.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Sounds
So
great.
how do you feel? How does it feel now being done with this enormous room?
Well, all of that still needs taken care of, but I like the blue.
You still want to do the trims?
Yes, just because the top and the bottom, they do feel, well, they're beige. They're a creamy color, so it's kind of toned down, which I guess it needs to be, doesn't it?
I
Okay.
don't know. Is it a
Now I'm
disco,
undecided.
disco party room or something else? I don't know.
No,
Okay.
it's a bedroom.
It's a bedroom. Okay. Well,
So
think
should
it
I
looks-
leave those, or should I paint them? Paint them a cream or a white?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we're planning on stripping them eventually back to their wood constituents and refinishing them
yes.
as wood. So, do we want to put another layer of paint on them just to take it off again?
Depends. It'll be like 3 years before, maybe more.
Maybe.
It might be 4 years
That's
before
true.
we do it. So
And our paint stripping technique will take everything off. So,
right.
okay.
So it's more of how will it feel? It definitely needs a fresh coat because it's kind of dirty.
So what are you thinking? Chantilly lace or something more creamy?
I'm not sure.
Okay, we'll think about it.
What do they think?
Yeah, what do you guys think? Chantilly lace is, if you
The
remember back to
brightest
the
white
old,
you can have.
it's the brightest plaster white you can buy.
Yeah.
So that's what we used on our walls back at 1834 up in New York, and it turned out really nice. So this blue with Chantilly lace might look pretty good, or it might look creamy. So let us know what you think.
Yes.
Just for reference, let me show you something. I placed a couple of drinking cups up here that are white, just so you could get an idea of what white would look like next to this new blue. You know, this is the existing cream color, so you can see both in one shot. What do you guys think? Thank you for watching 1834 Restoration House. We know that there are thousands, millions of channels out there that you could be watching right now, but we're so glad that you've chosen to watch ours. So thanks for coming along on this incredible journey, and we'll see you on the next video.